screens, it's a plot to drop the IQ. Fighting amongst each other over rumors that don't like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood ones of holly. Suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed sloppily. The hypocrisy, this mockery, and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. Good job to all you out there who ordained that this stream would work. It is working now. It only took 7 tries of restarting literally everything and then finally it working. So whatever, we got it and we're here. And I'm so glad to be with you as always. You guys are so awesome. I just am so appreciative of all the support. You know, you may have seen that my air conditioner just stopped working on a 90+ degree day, and it was cooler today, luckily, because I didn't have time to go get one. I'm going to go get one tomorrow. And thank you so much to those of you who donated, who sent extra tips in hopes that I could stay cool. I live in a very tiny little house with no air conditioning, and all of our shade trees are gone. 2 of them got cut down for mysterious reasons. Perhaps they needed to be, but I don't know. I'm not quite sure about that. That was before we got here. Those were the main shade for the house. And then there was one beautiful evergreen left, and this huge, harp-driven storm came through in December and just blew all these trees all throughout the city. You might remember me talking about us losing our tree. Our beautiful tree, the best tree. I would sit in my chair and I would watch the tree because I love trees. If you know me, I talk to trees. I love trees. And that tree died and I was so sad. I went through like a grief and a depression. Like, I'm not joking. So that tree also can no longer provide shade for us. And so we have no shade, no air conditioner. And then this house doesn't have what anybody would call insulation either. I mean, it technically does, but it's like, no, not really. It's like the thinnest layer and it's super old. So it desperately needs all those things. And so we have these little units that we have that are like super old too. And we do our best to try to hook them up to the windows. We have to have them up on platforms to reach the windows because the windows weren't made to have our modern air conditioning. It's kind of a nightmare in our tiny little house. We have to roll around these machines to try to cool each area. So that broke and I was like, oh my God, like what? Oh my God, it's already kind of a nightmare. And now this. And so, I made the humble request if anyone wanted to donate to us, helping us get this unexpected expense covered. And so many of you did. And I'm just so grateful. And thank you so much. So that's my air conditioner story. And I just want to send the gratitude out to the community who shared in, helping us get that air conditioner. So thank you very much. And thank you again to those of you who saw that this stream was having trouble starting yet again. Mysteriously, I literally was with the tech guy yesterday. If you're listening, obviously things are fine, Mr. Tech Friend. But, he was like, well, let's look and see if we can reproduce it. And no, of course, everything worked flawlessly. But for the first time in a week. And I was like, cool, maybe it's done. And then I came here tonight expecting it to just, be totally easy and work. And then, no, it was back to the same problem. So if he's looking, it won't happen. But if he's not looking, apparently it will. I really think it's more about the show and the content that I share with you than anything else. I don't think it's a tech issue, as you may well know about me, whatever you may think it is. Thank you so much, Jasmine, in the chat, both for your ordaining and the $10 tip. I really appreciate you. And if you're watching anywhere else, thank you for being here as well. Although tonight will be supporters only. So I will switch to just Rockfin for the stream. The audio will go up on Apple Podcasts for any supporters there. It will also go up on rogue.locals.com, which is this link right here. And so you can download it from there as well, just the audio. And if you're a supporter at Rockfin, of course, you can watch this and all the other exclusive content. I do a tarot reading, just did one not too long ago for the month of July. I do other things it's actually been a while since I've done any episodes that are just for supporters besides Middle Path on Thursdays, but I do sometimes have interviews that are solely just for supporters, and sometimes I have half of an interview that's just for supporters. So it just kind of happens as it happens, and you supporters get just some extra perks for helping the show keep going, so I appreciate all of you. And Middle Path, of course, is all about giving back to that community of supporters. So we get to explore tonight fractals again, this time specifically as far as our bodies and the structures and the energy within our bodies goes. So, fractal body, fractal mind. And we're just now done with our hermetic exploration, and this is somewhat related in very interesting ways. And of course, we also couldn't do, fractalization and repeating structures in our bodies without talking about evolution. The debate about evolution still continues to rage on. Whether or not it exists as described or not is up to anyone to decide. And so we'll talk a little bit about analogous structures and whether or not they support or disprove evolution, in our opinion. So that'll be exciting too. So it should be a fun show talking about acupuncture, reflexology, some other health-related things and aspects of our body that are fractal in nature in various ways. Of course, fractal being the idea that this is a pattern and that it repeats infinitely and in various places and times. And I maybe should have said hollow fractal body, hollow fractal mind, because the hologram is actually perhaps a little bit more apt than fractal, as the hologram is, any one sectionable unit of a hologram would contain the information of every other part. And that is definitely the universe we're living in. So we could call this a holofractal universe, which if you know me, I like to do. I guess we do have to, of course, talk about a little bit about CERN, a little bit about some Dutch farmers, a little bit about the Georgia Guidestones. And we've talked about, you've maybe heard me talk about it in a few other places. But, the Georgia Guidestones obviously are those Guidestones down in Georgia. And they were of mysterious origin. No one knows for sure. Is it RJ or RC Christian, whatever the supposed name of the creator is not a real person. The people who actually carved it, I think we are known, but they're not telling anyone who commissioned them to do this. And then these giant slabs of rock were put up. Of course, they were aiming in the cardinal directions, and there was a hole that was drilled through to view Polaris, famously pointing out that therefore that means Polaris in relative relation to us never changes, which a flat earth people really like that fact, because it seems to prove that we're not moving, right? So that's interesting. It has all those celestial sort of coordinations and alignments, and clearly they like those types of things. And it reminds us of many of the other structures of old, and perhaps that's by accident. I don't mean by accident. Of course, it's not by accident that they did that, but perhaps it's not that meaningful that it reminds us of those things, because they very well could be mimicking an ancient culture or technology that they feel they are descended from, rather than actually being the sort of crafters of some megalithic structures like the pyramids and Stonehenge and some other places that also have similar characteristics. But nonetheless, they did have them. Whoever built them, we are not sure. Many people have posited many things. It does seem most likely that perhaps it's related to sort of Skull and Bones-esque, at the very least, type of groups of secret societies. Some people think they've just for sure they know and this is fact. And I always steer away from those type of people, because I really would love to hear all their evidence. I'm totally for that. But I'm just never for pretending like we know for sure a thing. We can get really close and we can say, you know what, all that evidence, yeah, it's got to be Skull and Bones. But even then, we're not absolutely sure. So it's always smarter, more intelligent, in my opinion, to say it seems very likely that this is probably the case. And so who knows, really, right? But what we do know is that those slabs said that they would like to contain humanity to under 500 million. We're at 7 billion something, supposedly now, maybe almost 8 billion, depending on who you talk to. So that would be maybe 6.5 to 7.5 billion people they'd have to kill to get rid of and evaporate to get down to 500 million people left on the planet. You'd also have to have a pretty solid, almost self-perpetuating infrastructure if you were part of this class of people that hoped to get down to that low of a population. I don't know what they think they're doing about that. Maybe they've got it. Maybe their whole CERN bullshit and their AI bullshit and all their garbage is. Maybe they think it's self-perpetuating at this point. And maybe it is. Maybe they have whole underground, or we've talked about them being maybe out in the middle of the Pacific, have this giant landmass that is just their utopia. It's like that movie where they were out in the sky. up above Earth, and they had all their med beds and stuff, but they wouldn't let the Earth people use them. Like, I forget what that movie's called, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, maybe it's like that. Who knows? But what we do know is it sounded pretty nefarious. It's nefarious to talk about bringing humanity down to that low of a population from the alleged high that we're at. No matter where we're at, to bring it down at all by force is, of course, mass murder. And it does seem possible that they think they've pulled that off. I mean, if you're really paying attention and you notice, there's a lot of reproductive issues and sudden death going on ever since a certain thing started taking place in the last few years. And if that continues, if you can in any way pass it down, or if you cannot pass anything down because you're sterilized essentially now, that would definitely impact, and especially if there's anywhere near the numbers they're saying, which is something like 60 to 70% of the global population. That's a lot. That's a lot of people. So if that's true, they're at least a lot closer. And in a handful of years, they may be even closer still, depending on the fallout from that specific weaponry. So maybe they think they're pulling it off, and maybe they thought they were done with them then. Maybe they're like, well, we've achieved our goal. Let's take out the monument, right? Or I like to posit that perhaps they managed to take this out themselves, or maneuvered is what I meant, to take this out themselves so that they could erase the motive for their crime. Clear motive, written in stone, right? So if you were to prove that this weapon was released into the population and had a hugely detrimental effect, and then you could prove who did it, and then you could prove their connection to these guide stones, then you definitely have a motive, and motive is very important in criminal court cases, right? So it's possible, too. It's also possible that someone who hates them took it out. It's possible that another warring faction in the psychopathic classes was warring with, there's warring factions in the psychopathic class, and one faction took out this faction's guide stones. What we do not know, we don't have footage of anyone planting any bombs. What we also don't have are any scorch marks or any seeming indication that traditional explosives were used. So that kind of takes out like 97% of the population as culprits. Most of us don't have access to exotic weaponry, whether it be missiles or directed energy weapons or something else we don't even understand, some kind of sonic weapon. I guess that's directed energy too. These things could be deployed, but not by you and me, not by us, right? So then it kind of leaves it up to the psychopath classes. Again, maybe warring factions, or maybe just the same people who put it up. Who knows? What is really interesting to me is literally my first thought upon hearing that it had happened at like 6 a.m. yesterday morning when I woke up, 7 a.m. or whatever it was the first thing I saw. And I was like, holy shit, like, woo, celebrate! The psychopath's monument has been taken down. And then the thought that came very loudly into my head said, act of God. And I'm like, I'm psychic, to whatever extent people may want to call that phenomenon. I've definitely can get messages like that, sometimes as loudly and clearly. I don't assume that they're true. It's very possible that those types of things are floating around to sort of like interject a thought to make people think certain things, right? So I always go into deeper meditation and connection if I actually want to find out who and where that came from, and like if it's true or what it means or whatever. And when I did that, which is much later, I did that actually today, so it was more than 24 hours later, I finally went into that deeper connection, and I was asking, like, so is it an act of God actually? I was asking this now of my guides who I know for sure, because I don't know who or what said that first act of God thing to my psychic mind. So I went in and asked them, is it an act of God? And what I got back was not yes, but it wasn't of God. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, was it lightning? And it was like, yes, but it wasn't lightning like you think. And I was like, well, what other lightning could there be? And then I started thinking, they can do so much with the weather. They can do so much with exotic weaponry. What if they can mimic lightning? And they were like, ding, 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 ding. So I was like, So it both could have been, quote unquote, an act of God demolished by what we would call lightning, but also intentional and directed. That's a fascinating little nugget for you to chew on if you like it. I don't actually care in the end. I know you hear me say that a lot. Like, I don't care about most things. I find things fascinating. I love to think about them. I'm very curious. And in the end, I'm like pretty unattached to what, it doesn't matter to me If God took it out, good job, God. If they did it to themselves so that we would all talk about it again for some time, so I mean, maybe they're loosh harvesting off that. I never got emotional about it, so they weren't loosh harvesting off me. I think most of you out there who listen to this show also are like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, something happened, and we'll figure it out as much as we can, and it still won't matter. Like, it's just not that important. So no loosh harvesting here. Could have been so many different things. Seems to me to be a act of God directed by them, which is another. It's so interesting. Remember, not that long ago, God, was it like last year or the year before? There was this year where suddenly everyone was getting struck by lightning all around the world. There was just like lightning deaths just like went up, like drastically, noticeably to me, who I'm never looking at lightning deaths, like not important to me. Huge spike in lightning deaths, and I was like, what is up with this? And I never considered at that time, like, I wonder if they're practicing, like maybe they've developed this technique and this is like their practice to see like how precise can we like take out specific people in specific places. It's a crazy thought, I know, but I think it's possible. So yeah, directed energy and directed lightning are very, very different things, but there's a lot of similarity there, and it just makes me wonder. And then, yeah, the most telling part is that they instantly went in and demolished it. It wasn't actually that instant. I will say from 3 a.m. their time to like noon their time, so almost 12 hours later, they got the demolition crew in, and that's not hard to do. Like, it is not hard to, especially if you're that rich and well connected, to bring in a demolition crew is really easy to do. It's really easy to make the call too, right? That's your land, or if it's your thing that you own or whatever, to be like, yeah, take it out. I mean, it's ruined now. So I'm not that, I don't really care about that either. I'm like, that's not that surprising. It's much more telling when they're covering up like shooting scenes by demolishing schools, for example. That's way more intriguing to me, interesting, shows more clear of a nefarious purpose than this. It's possible for us to say like, well, maybe they're trying to hide the evidence, and that's very likely, and that could be, and it could also just be that they were like, I don't know if I can get rid of it, like it's broken now. Like, I could see both easily as well. So that's my ideas about the Georgia Guidestones. I don't know. I'm not going to know. Those are my best guesses so far. It's like a day since it happened, so huge changes could be happening. Raquel Toros is in the YouTube chat, says maybe they want to shift from a soft needle reset to a hard brutal reset, which is worrisome. Yeah, I was thinking this too, right? Like, it could be just the sign that they needed to give to each other that like, cool, we've got it. We've nailed it. Everything's in place. Like, final stage, go. I mentioned last night on Interverse, or on Vibrant with Chance on his Interverse channel, he had me as a guest, that there was all those resignations yesterday as well, which was very strange. Like, all of a sudden, yesterday and the day before, I mean, there's like 30, especially in European countries, but also around the world, high level cabinet and actual leaders like Boris, what's his fuck in England or whatever, stepping down suddenly. And there's always a reason. They're always like, oh, well, he had all this like issues and problem, whatever. Like, well, so does every other politician, and they're not stepping down. His resignation was called for like more than a year, and he's just now doing it. Like, what changed that day is what I'm wondering. And he had just appointed some guy that looked super creepy and nefarious, and like, shit is weird. So around the world, we had this like series of resignations, which also, like Raquel was saying, could be, part of this sort of like, all right, we're in the final phase, let's go. And they've been signaling that, they've been saying like, oh, you guys get ready for the next pandemic. And we're like, yay! Can't wait to watch more stupid people do more stupid things while I don't do stupid things. That'll be great for all of us. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just going to keep saying that should be the name of the show. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me, though, because I have said 10 billion times, and I'll say 10 billion more, am perfectly, beautifully happy in my soul and my heart, and I could die right now and I would be fine. Not too concerned about it. And it will suck if we have to live in some sort of extended super difficult, like post-apocalyptic Fallout world or whatever. That will suck. But you know, outside of that, like, I'm probably still going to eat, drink, and be merry and hang out with my chickens. Dakota in the Rockfin chat says, what are the chances they're lying about the current population number? I feel like it's much less than 7 billion. Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. Much, 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 much less, perhaps. Yeah, no loosh here. We're all dancing like Ewoks after the Death Star blew up, Alex says. But yeah, I like to say recently, too, like, fuck a great reset. We're on a great rebirth. And they can't stop us from doing that. So they can go their little dark-ass great reset route and just, like, fuck themselves into oblivion. And we'll just still be living here as beautiful people of the land. Beautiful humans, I should say, of the land. Gotta keep being happy, centered, and well as often as possible, and not lying about it. You know, if you have some depression and anger and whatever, that's cool. I do too sometimes, and we have to let that out. But otherwise, we want to keep ourselves healthy and well in every way, which reminds me, I have a new class up. It's on Thinkific. It's free. So I have a bunch of paid classes on all sorts of things, meditating, chakras, and how to work with them, tarot, psycho-spiritual protection. I'm going to do a lot more, but today I also put up a short mantra class, and for anybody who's a supporter over on Rockfin, the link is actually right below you with a code to get a discount if you want to take any of the other classes. So if you want a free class, anybody, you can go to rogueways.thinkific.com and you can see all of the classes that I offer. Take the free one if you want, get a paid one if you want as well, up to you. And if you are a supporter, you've got that little coupon code below you that you can use to get a discount. So that's up and moving. I feel like there's something else I said I was going to talk about, but I don't remember what it was. But the other announcement I want to make, especially before we cut off the feed on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and wherever else we are streaming to tonight, and go straight to Rockfin for supporters, which any of you can become right now if you want to. Just click over, sign up, and if you want to subscribe and support, you can do it quite easily, and you get all the content from everyone on Rockfin if you do so. But before we go, I do want to also announce that any moment now, it should have happened like a week ago, but you know how things go with me. Any moment now, Audible should approve the final audio and start distributing it to anybody who wants to go on Audible and get the audiobook for my first novel, Sine Curve of Aeons, Vitalis. It is done. It is submitted. It just has to get their final little click and get it approved and released. So excited about it. Such high quality, such a really beautiful book. So fun. It's such a fun book to read and experience, and you don't even have to read it now. You can listen to it. So especially all you audio listeners out there who are podcast only for Rogueways and Middle Path, I'm talking to you. You already know you like to listen to things, so there's no reason for you not to go grab it. But it's not quite done. It's not quite ready yet. So it's coming. It's coming. Just gotta hype it a little bit. Oh, they're saying the stream is frozen, so hopefully it comes right back. And hopefully it's still on the other channels. You know how things go. Refresh if you can. So yeah, I hope you guys all hop over to Rockfin. We're going to jump into the show now. Oh, I think I was going to maybe talk about CERN, but I'm like, you know what? We've talked about CERN 10 billion times. We'll do that on another episode. I do want to say there was a misconception with many people. We may remember that it's actually restarted some time ago, months ago this year, but it was just that on Monday or Tuesday was it? They were reaching all new heights, all new levels of CERN energy. So they were going faster than they ever had before. So it wasn't really that they were starting back up again. It was that they were doing that stuff again. Which is whatever. Again, I don't really care. It doesn't really matter. So yeah, and some people have posited, like, is CERN even real? Is CERN even happening? And then I guess Emily Moyer has this idea, and maybe she got it. She seems to have borrowed it from someone, so she linked to them, and I don't know who it is. So I'm sorry, whoever's idea this originally was. it also doesn't really matter because the world is just ideas, and we all pick them up and run with them for the time that we do. So anyway, her idea is that it's possible that CERN is actually ancient technology, that we discovered it and then we had to pretend that we built it, and that we just watch it turn on because we actually have no control over it at all. And I love that idea so much, especially because it like takes the fear out of it for me, because then it's like, well, then it's been going forever and like who cares anyways. It also seems to have had really no effect on the world. You may know my ideas about Mandela effect, and they don't have much to do with CERN. They have a lot more to do with AI that can very, very simply change every electronic record that the internet is connected to, which is most of them, in a moment. And do lots of experiments with that. So I do want to show you the site. As always, Rogue Soul Services is here at rogueways.org. You can see all the stuff. You can connect with me and just email me and send me a note, especially of love and support, which are so fun to get. I know I said something on Tinfoil Hat the last time I was on, and another time I was on, I think. Anyway, I was saying, we were talking about how few people give the love and how more people like will share the hate. And how it seems to be that way in reviews and all sorts of things. And maybe because of that, a lot of you have been sending me a lot more love lately, and I definitely appreciate it. I appreciate all of you. Thank you for sharing your hellos and your stories and all the stuff. It's very nice. I also have powerful tools like orgo and medicine bags, crystal and stone jewelry that I'm guided to make for people, and powerful energetic tools. You can read the testimonials for the spiritual support that I offer people. Those can be really, really fun, especially if you're considering, like, I don't know, I'm not really sure. You can just read about it and see if it's right for you. And of course, I link here to the courses on Thinkific. So if you just remember rogueways.org, you can get to the Thinkific courses from this front page as well. You can go to spiritual support link and book any of the offerings that I give to people. I do sound tuning and alignment. Now we're doing this. Okay, it's working again. Spiritual guidance sessions. This is where we can tap in and get some messages from your guides and allies, straight from them to you. Some energy, some blessings, and all kinds of things can come through in a guidance session. We can do a tarot reading, very powerful, beautiful tarot reading. We can just talk, do a coaching and talk session, especially if you want to learn any of the things that I do, or just talk. Healing ceremony and session is a bigger commitment that really is for people who are feeling like they need to go deeper, need to heal or release something pretty dark or heavy, or something like that. I do blessings for people, the sound healings, and all kinds of stuff. I also still consult about education, homeschooling, and other things. I am still a master teacher and board certified, and I also offer writing instruction and support. So if you want to do anything with your writing, actually, I can help you with that. And I do I Ching readings. So if that wasn't enough for you, you can get any of that here, and just book it right through the site. Super easy. So, all right, we're going to get into the show now, and that means I'm going to say goodbye to all our other channels. So if you are there on YouTube, or Twitter, or Twitch, or any of the places, click the link below you, jump over to Rockfin, sign up, support the show, and get all that other content. And otherwise, we will see you next time. Oh, and if you're an audio listener out there, you can get the rest of the audio every time, either by doing rogue.locals.com or Apple Podcast subscriptions for Rogue Ways. So there's one more option for you. All right, we'll see you guys later. And now it's just us here on Rockfin. Hopefully it's actually working. Okay, good. It does seem to be. Thank you, Dakota. It says that all those courses are generally priced. You know, I never know what to charge for anything. And I generally start out charging very, very little for things. And then eventually I'm like, oh, I can't actually do this anymore. The courses are a little different because they're already done. So I'm like, well, you know, I want people to have access to stuff. So we're going to get into this. We're just talking about fractal body, fractal mind, and how things repeat. And so we're not going to do our practice until the end here. But I just want to jump into it and start talking about, so this is reflexology we're looking at here. This is a reflexology chart. And reflexology most famously uses our feet as sort of mini maps of our body and our energy body And we could use that chart and that map of our energy body and our body that is recreated in our feet to apply pressure in certain ways, to massage certain ways, and to start healing various aspects of our physical self and our mental self and our emotional self and our energetic self. And this is just one way that our body is fractal in nature. Our entire body is recreated on our feet. Our feet already do so much. Like, do you know how many bones are in the feet? It's kind of crazy. They're literally supporting our whole body, like, most of the time. I know we sit a lot in our modern society, but our feet were kind of meant to, like, support us through our whole life. And here they are doing all this too. Look, you can do ear... Wait, what is it? Ear dis. Let me know if you know what ear dis means, but something with your ear, as well as toothaches. Eye dis, lungs dis. What is the dis? Anyways, you could affect your lungs. If you have asthmas or cough, you would like massage or press right here. In the reflexology, the first time I learned it, you just press once and you just hold, and it will hurt because there's something there that's like releasing the energy or releasing the toxin. You might think of it that way too. And so it might hurt both in the area you're pinching and then also the place in your body where you're having the issue. And then as that pain recedes, eventually you let go. That's how I was taught reflexology, by the same guy who gave me the book at the spiritual event that I had dreamt of the night before. And he was like, oh, it's for you. I was told to bring it. It's for you. Same guy that got the light ball in his head and started talking. Sai Baba started talking through him, I should say. Same guy. He taught me reflexology in that little time we spent together. So that's how he taught it. And so I don't know, because I know there's places that, like, that's the whole thing they do. You go in for reflexology treatment. They just do stuff to your feet. I don't know if they are massaging the whole time. I don't know if they just hold different pressure points like he taught or what. But it is so interesting that we have these maps, right? I like that the heel is for heel pain. There's one non-fractal example. Reproductive organs, sciatica is here, back pain along the side, it looks like. They're showing the spinal column alongside this, and I think that's just kind of showing you like which vertebrae you would sort of press on the sides and affect those vertebrae from the feet. You can affect goiters, tonsils, hormones. Like, I just feel like kind of I want to print this out, put it on my wall, and anytime I'm having any kind of discomfort or issue, just start pressing on my foot in that spot. Because I only learned a few on my hand, or he actually did a pretty thorough explanation of all the things on your hand, but I only retained the few that I knew I would use, which was the ones for headache and hormonal stuff, right? So that's not as helpful if you want to affect anything. And I guess that's why we would pay reflexology practitioners, because they've got this all memorized. And I think there's a lot more than what's on this simple chart we're looking at here. But think about the design that must have gone into this. If your whole body is just so amazingly perfect anyways, and then you can also affect various aspects of your body through your foot. Oh, look, I'm just realizing how the left and the right foot actually have different things as well. I thought they were just mirroring each other, but only a little bit mirrors on each side. Like, you have two kidneys, so both sides have the kidneys, but your lungs, you have one on each side, but your heart's only on this, I'm assuming, left side. Yeah, if you were turned this around, this would be your left side. That's cool. So they're not perfect mirrors, so you have to know each foot, even though there's a lot mirrored in them. Some things aren't. So this is how beautiful this design is. Our entire body is reflected all the way down in our feet. I always wondered too at the name reflexology. I guess it's a reflex that this area of your body is responding and releasing energy or toxins when you're pressing on this other spot. But when you say reflex, I think of like the knee thing, right? Travis says, DIS, abbreviation for disease or disorder. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that seems obvious now that you said it. Eye disorder, eye disease. Either way, it would work, right? Then thank you very much for sharing that. We also have this hand reflexology, and the exact same things are repeated. So it's not like, oh, you have to know the foot and the hand, and each hand is. You could just learn one or the other. And again, like, how cool. So, I mean, this is kind of dark, but if your feet got cut off and you wanted to still use reflexology, you still have your hands. And this is what's amazing to me about the fractal sort of repetition of analogous structures and analogous systems and parallel systems and structures. When things are repeated in various ways, it is intelligent design. I don't care about like how attached we are to what intelligent design means and has become in a social or religious way. I just mean like that's intelligent design. Like if you are going to design something, you are intelligent if you give it all of these ways to have backup, right? If one thing goes out, there's something else is going to come in and take its spot. Save the day. This hand reflexology is going to save the day for your duodenum. Here's your duodenum. See, now I'm thinking I had some things wrong. I was shown head was right in this crevice here between your thumb and your pointer finger for like a headache. I guess it is because here's your neck. And then it goes up to your throat, esophagus. But it shows head and brain up here on your middle fingers, which is interesting. All these little points. And, I don't really understand the difference between reflexology and acupuncture, but clearly they're working in similar ways. They're finding these points that correspond to other areas, regions, energies, organs of your body, and accessing something there, right? Or releasing something there. So we have these mini maps that recreate our whole body on our hands. We have them on our feet. This is acupuncture related, actually. So this is another way of looking at it. I like that they've really actually cut the body up and placed it over the hands. It's actually very helpful for me. I'm like, oh, okay, very visual. So here's where the head is. Here's where your eyes would be, your mouth. Here's the spine, goes all the way down, your organs. It's also showing the top and the bottom, right? So this is the underside is the sort of fleshy, the organ-like things, the legs, the hands, whatnot. And the top side, the posterior, is where your bones are. Specific vertebrae and everything. All this stuff. This is an acupuncture chart, if I didn't already say that. And like I said, I understand their different practices completely, but it is very interesting that they seem to work on the exact same sorts of ideas, which is that we do have these fractal repetitions throughout our body. We do have these analogous structures. And let's just say, whether you call it nature, evolution, God, intelligent design, it is a stunning design. It is beautiful. Like, how did anything come up with this? Especially just accidentally thrown together by nature, right? Very interesting. They also, this is your ear, and your ear relates to every single part of your body. So if your 2 feet and your 2 hands were not enough, you also have 2 ears, and each of them can be accessed to heal or release or bring more energy in to any part of your body, energetically too. Right? Some of these other ones talked about, if we go all the way back to the foot, there was sadness somewhere here or something. Where is that? Here's the solar plexus, for example. Your chakras are on here, right? On the hand, I saw something too that was more, here's the solar plexus again. There's emotions on some of these. This one's very structural, I guess. But here on your ear, we also have, right, psychosomatic reactions. Vitality point. What is this one? I feel like I get that one all the time. The stomach. I guess I get the stomach. I don't know, because there's so many points in here, and he's just so fast. So I just know that I have needles in my ears. The thyroid gland, that's probably actually what he's doing, to be honest. But everything's here in your ear. Analogous systems that relate to the structures throughout your body that help you to heal no matter what has happened to you. We keep seeing more examples of these throughout this episode of how there's all these backups. You can think of them as backups. You can think of them as repeating structures, as analogous systems, as parallel systems. It all comes down to the same thing. It's this repetition of this pattern of energy, of physicality. And we see this throughout the whole universe over and over again, time and time again. No matter where we're looking. We did the whole episode before just on fractals, fractalization. I think it was something about gratitude for fractals or something. This is very specifically focused on our bodies and the development of all of these systems within our bodies, and our bodies being fractals within themselves, right? Let alone that what we talked about on that episode, one of them was like our fingers and hands are little fractals of our body, which also is a chunk with digits sticking off of it. 5 of them, just like our hands, right? So like this is already, we've already talked about this. We're just getting a little deeper into the fractal layers here. Here is an explanation of your teeth, each tooth being connected to various organs and elements within your body. So when we get back to, you know, acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine and classic Chinese medicine, all use these elements. There's, let's see, metal. I'm going to try to go in order too, because I'm trying to master this. So your lungs are metal. Then you go to your kidneys that are water. Metal gives way to water. Then you go to your liver, which is wood. Water gives way to wood. Then you go to your heart, which is fire. Wood gives way to fire. Then you go to your spleen, which is, what's yellow? Air, I guess. Yeah, fire gives way to air. So air or wind, your spleen. I'm pretty sure I just nailed that. So these colors that you're seeing here represent those same elements and the order that I just, because the lung and the metal is right here in the middle. Otherwise, it's pretty similar to the right order at least. But each tooth you have in your mouth then, and we talked about how your teeth are the cymatic expression. They change cymatically as your energy changes cymatically as a human being. Your teeth then reflect that. When you go from baby teeth to adult teeth, you go from nursery rhyme type chord progression of your teeth structure to this classical music type chord progression of your teeth structure. Like shit like that is amazing to me. And that each of your teeth here then also is connected to various organs. It would be very interesting to note then, if you have certain issues with your teeth, do you then find that you'll have issues with those organs, right? Let's say you know for sure this back left molar is always having problems. Well, do you have a heart or intestinal or the triple warmer issue? Triple warmer is a energetic merging of meridians, by the way. But that's neither here nor there. But right, because you have this, again, this repeat system and structure, this repeated way of accessing that energetic state, you know, and healing yourself. I love it. Lindsay in the chat says, Dr. Elisa Song taught me a few of these for when my kids are sick, like nausea or colds, and they work. I love it. I think she's talking back to the reflexology and some of the acupuncture points. People have talked about doing acupressure. You don't have to go and get the needles done. If you know enough, you can kind of like do a reflexology thing on yourself. Oh, and here we are at acupressure. And it really is just reflexology, but also more like acupuncture. But the only difference being that you apply pressure. So I guess I'm answering my own question then about the difference between them. There isn't much. It's just one uses needles and one just uses pressure. You can kind of needle it, I'm sure, too, without a needle, but like maybe even with a pencil or a pen or something, like get in there deeper. I do lean towards the needle being more effective, just because I think it kind of startles the system in a way that's very, very subtle, but gets the energy to like react and respond and either start flowing or start releasing or start taking in energy as it needs to. So here again, this one's just even more detailed. We have every single thing we could think of listed here from 1 to 49 of all of the different organs and conditions. Very cool. It's interesting. I keep seeing the solar plexus, but not the other chakras. What does that say? What does that mean? If you know why we would see the solar plexus on all these short charts, but none of the other chakras, let us know. So, So I wanted to also share this. This actually came from my dentist. So Michael LaMarche, if you're out there, super good. Literally the best dentist I've ever had. You know my issues with dentists. But also they were very, very, I mean, you could choose to do fluoride treatments or you could choose to not. And they had all sorts of different products that you could choose to have, like the most natural, you know, like charcoal and these types of things instead of the sort of traditional dentistry products. And I just really I loved that dentist. I loved his office and I loved all the people who worked there. But he sent this to me because we were talking one day. And he actually was asking me, like, do you have back issues in these certain locations? And I was like, yeah, I mean, that's exactly the location where I have these back issues. Like, how did you know? And he was like, because I have pioneered this research that connects each of our teeth to a specific nerve and a specific vertebrae and joint and organ and endocrine gland. And I was like, what? Like, that's crazy. He's like, yeah, so based on the teeth that I can see you've had multiple issues with or whatnot, or full on, you know, root canals and everything, I can just tell that you would probably have issues in there. I was like, that's crazy. That is insane to me because no other dentist has ever mentioned that. And this was literally his doctorate. His doctorate was a study on this. And he found a very high correlation, like an exceptionally high, more than most studies find, right? The margin of error is allowed to be somewhat large in scientific studies, and the amount of your findings and correlations can be somewhat small, and they can still say, oh, this is significant, this matters. His was far beyond that. So it was like the vast majority of people in the study had these correlations. And so he gave me this chart. I've never used it. I mean, I don't know what I would do with it. It's just really interesting to me that once again, and this in quite a different way from the traditional Chinese traditional Chinese medicine view of our teeth, this gets even more detailed. Go back to that tooth map here that we have. They're like, oh, the stomach and the spleen. Oh, wait, they do have. Check that out. They've got all the vertebrae listed out here. Your lumbar, your thoracic. Wow. Okay, so I would wonder then if we could compare these. Let's just try to pick one tooth. Let's see, the right molar would be C7T1. Right molar, C7T1. What? So really he was just bringing Chinese medicine to the West. That's wild. So interesting. So this is just the same thing again. I had no idea. I literally just found this on accident, this other tooth chart. And this was from a traditional Chinese medicine sort of source. Well, at the very least, he doesn't have the elements connected with it. That is different. And he does map it out as different, categories between your sense organs, your joints, your vertebrae, your organs, your endocrine glands. But that's fascinating still. So your teeth, in more ways than one then, are little fractalized versions of your entire body. Your nervous system is running from place to place, and each of those places is then therefore connected. It's like a highway. It goes all directions. Here's another one of the things that he shared with me, which is the chart of effects of spinal misalignments. So again, if you know like which, place your body is having the issues with, I think my back is fused from T1, which is up here at the top, all the way down to, I know it's like one of the L's, I think. Is that right? Or is it a higher T? Anyway, it's down here in some lower area. It's either like 11T, 12T, or 1L or something. You'd think I would know this, but I don't. So right above the fusing, I have metal rods that literally fuse it. So none of those vertebrae have moved for over 20 years. And right above it, therefore, I have a really degraded disc, and it often ruptures. I shouldn't say that. It has not ruptured in quite some time, and it will never rupture again. But in my life, it has ruptured many times in the past. And same with down here right below, where the rods end, and that's because those parts of my spine take so much brunt and so much whatever, and then they like give out and they start breaking. I have broken spinal processes that come off of these vertebrae and ongoing problems. So if I then trace those over, look at this. The very vertebrae that I have issues with in my cervical spine, right above where the fuse is thyroid gland. You know me, you know thyroid gland issues are the thing. So I have a thyroid condition, and it just so happens to be exactly. So are they the same thing? Do I have my thyroid condition at least in part because of this degradation, because I was fused? Energetically, many practitioners would say, yeah, that's literally why. And many other practitioners would say, well, maybe you already were going to get a thyroid thing somewhere. You had you were predisposed to it, and then this aggravated that. And it kind of means the same thing to me, right? And then down here in the places that I have the discs slipped at the bottom, it's either small intestines and lymph circulation, and lymph circulation has been one of my biggest problems also, besides my thyroid system. It's just crazy to me how these things correspond. Our spine is another fractalized version of every other part of our body. It is a repeating system, repeating series of energetic and informational structures. And it's actually a good thing. So as much as I'm like, oh man, they fused the spine and then maybe it caused this problem, but I'm also like, well, that means I can also use this to fix the problems because I have all these other analogous systems that will support that process. So I brought this page up mostly to remind myself that I wanted to read you guys something from this thyroid healing book, which is the medical medium. I know there's lots of people out there who just hate this man like so powerfully, but he's helped me so much. And I don't, again, for the 10th time today, I don't care if he's right or not, because what I do know is that everything he's shared with me and told me through these books has drastically changed my life and improved my health. And like, what else matters? People are like, oh, he says he's a medium and he's not. I'm like, I don't know or care. I know that this book is amazing. And that if you have a thyroid issue and you get this book and you follow these things, you too will find great healing and resolution to many of your problems. So I'll read to you in a second. I just want to see what the chat's doing. Lindsay Smith says the teeth aspect is new to me. I do use pressure. Oh, yes. Yeah. Acupressure and the reflexology to help the kiddos and yourself. God, I just said kiddos and wasn't even joking. Who have I become? What is this life? I just have to let that go. It's just like all the other things. I have to say I'm a channeler now. I have to say I'm love and light. I have to do all these things I really, really hate. Saying I shouldn't say that. I love them. My life is beautiful. Thank you, life. Please stop saying kiddo, though. Tea Leaf says, my master reflexologist found my liver issues through my feet and saved my life. Dude, what? So, okay. So you can also diagnose through this. You know what? I get it now. Remember when I was telling you guys? Yeah, I just said member. Remember when I was telling you guys about how my acupuncturist looked at my hands and my tongue and my eyes and just knew all the things that were wrong with me? I guess when you are that good and well-versed in it, you can just see it on people's fucking hands like they're little maps of your whole entire body and your spirit. That is so cool. Thank you for sharing that, Tea Leaves. Tea Leaves also shares, I also have a brilliant female biological dentist who saved my teeth and who used these charts. Wow, that is so cool. I've just heard about biological dentists twice in the past 2 days. I really think that I might find one if I ever need to go back to a dentist, which my genuine hope in life is that I don't ever have to do that. But, we'll see. And I want to do biological dentist. I've never even heard about it until literally yesterday, and now you're saying it again. So clearly it's important. So if any of you out there don't have a dentist or thinking of switching dentists or hate dentistry and don't like going, I have this strong feeling that biological dentistry might be great for all of us. It sounds like they avoid things like root canals and drilling holes in your fucking bones, dude. Your teeth are your bones. Okay. So I want to read this to you. I don't want to read too much, but I just want you guys to get the gist. And this blew my mind because I know people with similar issues to me who have had their thyroids removed, which seems just insane to me. But listen to what he says. He says, out of all the thyroid does, its least important task is its production of the hormones thyroxine and triiodithyronine, which is T4 and T3. Remember, medical research and science only theorize about the impact of T4 and T3 on health. The functions of these hormones can't be weighed or measured in any lab or study yet. T4 and T3's physical purpose is still a medical mystery. No one's allowed to admit or dispute that. It's another theory held as truth and law, and the door to exploring it is closed, what I call a closed-door theory. While medical communities so far believe this hormone production to be the most important function of the thyroid, theorizing that these hormones have a role in the metabolism of every cell, this is not the case. Yes, the thyroid has a role in regulating all of your cells through its work to promote homeostasis, though that doesn't completely hinge on T4 or T3. The known thyroid hormones are not the most significant. Think about it. If the underproduction of thyroid hormones were truly the defining aspect of so many thyroid illnesses, then why wouldn't the illness go away when someone went on hormone replacement medication? I'm going to pause there to just say, yes, when they gave me hormone medication, I assumed that was going to fix the problem, and no, it didn't. And then eventually they were even going to take the medication away from me, and even though the problem was getting worse, as you've heard me talk about. But they don't really tell you that. They're just like, yep, you need to take this. And then you do, and then like nothing is happening and you're still just getting worse. And they're like, yeah, I mean, that's just going to happen. You're like, well, why am I even taking this? But he's right. If that was the problem, then taking that medicine would fix the problem. And it doesn't. It doesn't in more than 97% of people taking it. It makes some symptoms somewhat better for some amount of time. So why didn't the illness go away? All right, he says, ask the millions of women on thyroid medication if since starting the hormones, they no longer struggle with weight gain, hair loss, feverishness, insomnia, and so on down the list. Some of them may have felt some improvement on medication, in most cases because they overhauled their diet and exercise programs at the same time. However, an overwhelming number of these people will say their symptoms have not vanished. That's because these symptoms are viral, not hormonal, so hormones don't fix them. And again, let go of the virus thing if you need to. It doesn't actually matter. Just listen to what he's saying. T4 and T3 do play a role in your health. Science is unaware that their true functions are to keep the immune system balanced, to prevent under or overreaction to stimulus, to help keep body temperature level, and to support the pancreas. Very few actual symptoms occur when the thyroid is not producing enough of these two hormones, though. Essentially, T4 and T3 are steroid compounds, and when the thyroid is underactive and weakens, your body has built-in mechanisms to compensate for that loss. This is the part that started to fascinate me, that they don't even really understand it fully, and when it does underproduce, other parts of your body step up and start doing things for you. And it may be like, duh, that's so obvious. Why wouldn't our bodies do this for us? How would our bodies not be created to heal themselves and to deal with times when some parts of the body weren't working? Like, of course, because again, any intelligent designer would do that. Any intelligent designer would create exactly a system like that. Okay, so back to what he says. Your thyroid places a 911 call to the rest of the endocrine system and the other organs for backup. To begin with, a healthy functioning liver will have a storage bin of T4, which it can also convert to T3. So it will release these hormones if the thyroid is underactive and distressed. Your liver will fucking release the same hormones that your thyroid creates. But they don't talk about that. They don't say your liver has your back or that your liver is going to release these hormones. No, they never even mention that, but it does. He goes on to say, which it can also convert to T3, so it will release these hormones if the thyroid is underactive and distressed. In fact, T4 to T3 conversion in the first place is much more of a liver function than a thyroid one. If you've heard that you have a conversion problem, know that this has to do with your liver. It's probably become overburdened from the EBV, which is Epstein-Barr virus, combined with other toxins such as pesticides, heavy metals, or prescription medications. A dysfunctional liver is the true cause of thyroid hormone conversion problems. So you can have this thyroid seeming malfunction, and actually the true culprit might be your liver, or they might both be overburdened and distressed and not working. This is my own words, by the way. That could be happening, and they don't talk about that. They're not like, oh, what are you doing to support your liver? They're just like, yeah, go die, freak. We don't care. Pay us money now. My God. Heartless people. He goes on to say, if your liver is compromised due to the EBV or other factors, your pancreas will increase its release of the hormone insulin in order to help convert T4 to T3, as well as its enzyme output to elevate the digestive process. Again, pause. This is part of why people who have thyroid issues have such an issue with weight gain and weight loss, because your, what did he just say? Pancreas is increasing insulin hormone release to help you survive. And you're like, why am I getting fat? And you're like, well, because you're actually fucking dying and no one told you. And you can actually help yourself by eating the right things and not eating the wrong things, and drinking really good water and not drinking anything else, basically. Just like giving your body more of what it needs. It's fucking crazy. He goes on to say, plus your adrenals will step in with their own tailor-made steroid blend to help replace and mimic the diminished thyroid hormones. This adrenaline blend won't be detected as thyroid hormone on blood tests because it's subtly different in composition. Since no one is aware that the body has this hormone replacement system, blood work isn't designed to detect it, and it stays off the radar. The end result is that you're mostly protected from feeling the effects of lower thyroid hormone production. So we'll stop there. He goes on to talk about the hypothalamus and other areas of your body, but how many things did he even just list that are just these analogous, backup, parallel structures and systems in your body? So when one thing is damaged or is going out or needs more support or whatever, another one steps up and is like, okay, I got you here. I'm going to do this. Like, that's what your body is designed for. It's a fractal body and fractal system. Our medical community is so far from this reality, so far from this truth. But like someone said of my acupuncturist, to go back to these acupuncture charts, someone said, this was a doctor who said this to him, a medical doctor, a surgeon said to him, your technology is thousands of years past our own. This exact technology of understanding the fractal nature of our bodies, the ways that our bodies are doing everything they can to support all the other parts, the way that every part is interconnected. And of course, we wouldn't recognize that in our modern medical world because we're so disconnected and we're focused on specifically disconnecting. We're like, all right, here's the foot doctor and there's the liver doctor and there's the tooth guy or whatever. Like, and there's a much more holistic thing going on. I know we all know this. Like, I know everyone understands that at a very deep level, but we don't act like we understand it. We act like each thing is independent and separate, and then we cut it off. We're like, oh, your thyroid's fucked up? Let's cut it out. Like, how much worse of an idea could you have than to cut it out? And okay, I know I'm now legally supposed to say, go cut out your thyroid if your doctor says to cut out your thyroid. And also understand that your doctor is the number one dealer of death in our nation as far as people with jobs go. I didn't say that very well, but yeah, they want to cut shit off. They want to cut out your appendix. They want to cut out your tonsils. They want to cut out whatever they fucking can. They're like, there's a problem here, and I get it. You might have cancer or something. But I think that there's a million other ways to heal yourself from this than cutting it out. I think your body desperately wants to keep itself whole because of this exact interrelated, interconnected, fractalized, repeating energetic systems. That exact pattern, because of that, your body wants it all. The dog across the street just said, "Roof, roof." He knows how important this is. So I just wanted to go into analogous structures because we're basically talking about them, but in a very different way than they are talked about in biology. All the things we've talked about today are not considered necessarily analogous structures. I'm calling them parallel and analogous in an energetic way, right? All the things we've talked about, your hand reflects your whole body, your foot reflects your whole body, your teeth reflect your whole body, your spine reflects your whole body, your ears reflect your whole body, your frickin' thyroid and all the other organs reflect each other. All these things are interrelated, they're cohesive, they're a whole. When we talk about analogous structures, normally though, we're talking about the structures that seem to have developed in multiple species, multiple different lineages, whether or not they seem to have a common ancestor as far as evolution is concerned. So examples of analogous structures are often like this, what you see here, the wings of various birds, bats, and other flying creatures. And they don't all have a common ancestor, right? Bats are mammals and birds are birds. Not mammals. What am I supposed to call birds, you guys? Help me out in the chat. Like, what's the word when you're not a mammal? I'm having a brain death moment. So birds and bats, different evolutionary, supposedly, if you're buying into evolution, these are the totally different ancestors. So why did they both develop this exact same look? How they both bend in the same way at the same point, similar ratio. They both have fingers. Like the bats are super long and creepy and weird, but that's a hand. The bird even has it. Look, got a little thumb here, got a few fingers up there in the end of the wing tip. That's a hand. Why do we all have arms and hands if we're not even in the same group? Avian, yeah, but is avian? Tea Leaf says avian in my question to mammal versus reptile, maybe. I don't know, but I know avian is a word to describe flying birds that are not mammals, but I don't know if that's quite the word I was looking for. Thank you for it. The word, anyways. So these same structures repeat over and over again throughout creation. And that's what we call analogous structures. It's similar to the way we're talking about our body repeating in various ways, but this is very physical, and it's across different bodies and not in one body, obviously, right? And so to sum it up, this is a cool page because it tells us creationists, and those are the people who don't believe in evolution, they assert that since bats, birds, and pterosaurs, oh, that's that top animal, it's a dinosaur. Pterosaurs do not share a common ancestor. Their wings must have been created separately for each of them, right? So if you understand that argument correctly, they're saying there's no way that evolution would have created the exact same structure multiple different times. And this is just one tiny example. You can find thousands of these examples of like, okay, if there's no common ancestor, how did evolution continue to come up with the same thing over and over again? And why would it? Because it's very inefficient, actually. It's very inefficient to have to redesign the same intimately, that's not the word I was looking for either, crafted production. That would be silly. Whereas if you're an intelligent designer and you're looking at this like, I don't know, similar to a simulation, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to have this thing that flies, and then I'm going to have this totally different thing that flies. But since that worked so well over there, I'm just going to cut and drag and drop that over here. Okay, now that thing flies too. Like, why would you recreate it? That's their argument, right? It actually proves creation to them that we have these analogous structures and different evolutionary lines. And it's hard to even say evolutionary lines because they don't believe in it, but you know what the evolutionists call evolutionary lines. So the evolutionists assert that since bats, birds, and pterosaurs do share a common ancestor, but that ancestor did not have wings, then each line developed the structure independently, a hypothetical process known as convergent evolution. So again, the argument is that there may have been like an amoeba that is the original thing that all things are descended from, but it split at some point. And so even though the common ancestor doesn't actually exist in that same way, they didn't have wings at that time when they split, right? But then they later had wings, that it actually was developed independently. So they're not even arguing that it was like borrowed or repeated or that nothing. They're just saying, yeah, evolution just developed that because it worked well. It's not a bad argument. I'll say. It's not a horribly bad argument that could happen. Like wings work to fly, and so evolution would develop wings in this way that works because those things needed to fly. It could happen. Another example of analogous structures are the parallels between placental and marsupial mammals. There exists or existed marsupials that are virtually indistinguishable from rabbits, mice, moles, badgers, squirrels, wolves, saber-toothed tigers, and other species, except for their radically different reproductive system. So evolutionary biologists speculate that placentals and marsupials diverged long before they diverged into the animals listed above. So they assert that marsupials and placentals underwent parallel diversification into ecological niches that demanded similar structures. Because creationists believe that placentals and marsupials were designed separately and therefore do not have common ancestor, they explain the analogous structures simply as similar designs reapplied in different species. It's basically what I just gave an example of, but maybe better than I said it, that these are the two reasons why you would still come up with analogous structures, whether you're doing evolution or creationism. It's interesting. So I'll just say this. If you're like, wait, why would anybody question evolution? Because I used to be there too. And I actually had to tutor a girl through Christian school, and she had to take a biology class. And so I had to always read her texts and understand what they were teaching in order to help her do the homework correctly and whatever. And so when they started teaching evolution, I was like, oh, here's this bullshit. Because my whole training and indoctrination was to think anyone who questioned this was absolutely stupid, like a dumb person who can't think. That was what I was taught to just assume about those people and their ideas. And then I started reading this stuff, and I had never read it before. And by the end of it, I was like, I don't fucking know if evolution is real. Like, just like everything else I've ever questioned. These people are incredibly intelligent. They have incredibly sophisticated arguments, and they make exceptional points. And the best point they made, and this is the point where I really had to stop and go, I don't know anymore. All the other things, I was like, oh, you know, okay, I could see it going either way. Analogous structures being one example. And then they said, and they were right, that macroevolution has no supporting evidence at all. And by none, I mean none. There's not a single shred of evidence of any kind anywhere in the universe to show that one species became a different species anywhere. Period. There's none. We do have evidence of microevolution, and this is the one you see all the time. You're like, look at that bird. That bird's beak is straight, and now look at this bird. Its beak is like twisted at the end so it can crack seeds. That's like the famous Darwinian one, right? That's microevolution. So there is evidence that what we would call survival of the fittest, or right, that whole paradigm, there's evidence that that happens sometimes, that a random mutation ends up having an advantage to survival, and that it therefore wins out, and now it is that is the new but that's all morphological. It's all physical. It's all how it looks. There's nothing actually different in the species, really, right? Like, that's still the same bird. It's got all the same colors. It lives in the same place. The beaks are still like the same length or whatever. There's all these things. It just now has this little twist. So it's just like if eugenicists won out and everybody ended up being blonde and blue-eyed because they killed everybody else. Like, it's not, is it evolution? I don't know, but definitely things look different, but it's still humans, right? We don't have a single example of a bird becoming a, I don't know, that wasn't a good one, but a lizard, for example, becoming a bird, right? We have no examples of, no evidence of it, nothing. We have nothing that connects two species as like, look, here they are mutating and morphing from lizard to bird. We have nothing that shows that. And so when I learned that in this Bible class that I was tutoring this girl for, I was like, holy shit. There might not be any evolution. And now, since then, I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, if shit is cymatic and energy or plasma or ether or spirit just like comes into fucking form because that is the form that fits its energy, I can dig that. I've seen it happen, you know, as far as beings appearing and things, right? So if that can happen, why can't this happen? Why can't the earth just be like dreaming and be like shooting out energy and it just turns into a tree and then a bat and then a whatever? You know, I was just tripping the other day and I was like, did we just jump into the dimension that hummingbird moths, you guys remember my whole hummingbird moth trip? Like, did we just jump into the dimension where they exist? 'Cause I never fucking heard of them once in my entire life, never saw a picture or nothing, and then all of a sudden I see them and people are like sharing pictures and they just exist now, and I'm like, oh, I mean, did the world just create them because we needed more pollinators? Like, that's possible. That seems possible to me. It seems, in fact, more likely than billions and billions of years of evolution just so happening to literally accidentally both create life and to repeat the same structures without knowing it. There's no intelligence there at all. That seems crazy to me, actually. I understand the argument. It's not a bad argument, but it seems wildly inappropriate and unlikely. And it doesn't seem like what we have any evidence for. So, yeah. So I then look at our body, this fractalization of energy and patterns and structures and things, this analogous structures even across species, the hollow fractal nature of the universe. And I go, I don't know, you can call that evolution if you want. I mean, things are evolving perhaps, but no, I don't think they're evolving in that way. I think it's a lot different, sometimes much faster, as sudden than they might say. And I just want to throw out there for anyone who is like tripping out right now and they're like, what the hell? This bitch does not believe in evolution. Like, this is a pretty decent source. I haven't fully vetted it, but I read through this main page here and I was like, okay, they cover like the main things. So this is called Institute for Creation Research. And if you go to icr.org, you can go to their resources and find their scientific tract, their case against evolution. It's pretty well done. And I especially encourage you to read this if you have never questioned it, because it just might change your life. So I don't think you can call me a creationist because I don't do this from a religious point of view. I'm not like, oh, there has to be a God doing this, or at least my conception of the God doing this is quite different probably from most traditional Christians and other religions who question evolution. My idea of God, of course, being that source energy that is ever present everywhere and, you know, possibly coming into being physically in the ways just described, where it's just pop, here we are, and this is the best possible way for it to be. Like, here's the body you get based on what your nature is and the energy of your nature that you are currently expressing in three-dimensional space. You just will have these arms and this head and this, because that's just the energy you are now. When you see, if there's an evolution, I believe it's on the spiritual level, and when you get to the next stage or whatever, you're going to have a different form. It's not going to be human anymore. Perhaps, right? That we were rocks once, and then we were like amoeba or whatever, and then we were like bugs, and then we were whatever. That's the evolution I believe in. Not that these species turned into each other by accident, but that our energetic patterns were expressing in three dimensions in exactly this way, in accordance with the level of consciousness we have and the energy we hold. So yeah, it is a trip. I know. Maybe all of you are like, yeah, duh, evolution's not real at all. Like, this was years ago that I came to this, but I don't often talk about it because there's not a lot of people out there who have never questioned it, who are ready to question it. And again, there's that instant, you're stupid and uneducated. You're stupid and uneducated if you don't believe in evolution. Everyone knows evolution. Everyone knows climate change is real. Everyone knows the world is a globe. I'm like, anytime someone pretends to know for sure, anytime they're talking about, oh, everyone knows this, that is your biggest red flag, right? For all of us. This is absolutely what happened. Like, now I know not to really listen to you very much. I love this. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Tea Leaf says, when we come across new insects, we now see them as new energies helping us on our farm. No joke, we find them helping us in strange ways. I love that. That's exactly what I think. I'm like, these things are all sent here for a reason, that they're manifesting themselves for a reason. They're coming across our paths for a reason. Especially when I find myself being really annoyed by it, I try to be like, just stop. Just like realize this bug might be here for this purpose that you like don't understand. It might be for them. It might be for me. It might be for both of us. But you definitely don't need to get annoyed about it. And it's a much better energy to manifest in your life to say, you're my new helper and friend. I love you. Thank you for being here. So I just wanted to close out with some mantras, and I wanted to draw your attention both to this mantra and manifestation blog page. On the site at rogueways.org, if you go to musings, you can find all the different postings from all of time for the past handful of years that I've written, and there's a lot of them. I've removed all the announcement type stuff. It's just the writing now. And so mantras and manifestation is the most recent thing I've written. And I wrote that because I wanted to use mantras as a practice today. And the way that ties in is when you think about your whole body, there are these repeating systems, these repeating energies, and they're all interrelated. They're all interconnected. They're all working together. They all have each other's backs. This is the fractalized repetition, analogous, parallel structures and systems in place. Then you can realize how your mind, especially going back to the Kybalion and the Hermetic stuff that we've been talking about, can influence all of it, can create all of it, can clear energy from all of it, can bring energy into all of it. So I want to do some mantras again. I know I've been on this mantra kick lately, and we've done some mantras lately, but they're just so good and powerful. And I also want to tell you I have this new mantra course on Thinkific. Like I mentioned, it is free. There's a link to it here on this blog post. It's also just if you go to rogueways.thinkific.com, you will also just see it there for free. And I mean, I guess you could take it even if you feel like you understand mantras really well. It's never going to hurt you. It's a pretty short course. But it's also really good for anyone who hasn't really done them or has kind of tried them, but it like fell away and didn't really take, right? I think that this course will be really good for especially that type of person. And I just talk about in this and in the course how what I said, last time we were doing mantras on Middle Path, that a lot of us, I think, just poo-poo mantras, or we just like let them go because we're like, oh, that's just easy. A lot of times mantras come up in popular culture, and they also tend to come up sort of at the beginning of many of our spiritual paths. And so this is why we tend to then let them go, because we're like, oh, that's baby stuff. I mean, if the mass consciousness knows about mantras, and if it's like one of the first things I encounter, and they're like, must not be that important. But I just ask you to reconsider that, and that, that beginner's mind is what we should bring to any of these practices. And there's a reason why every culture and every tradition has their form of mantra. So go take that course if you're into it. It's free. Look around at the other courses, see if any of them are for you. And let's pick one to do. I really like this one. I am imperfect. So if you don't know and you're listening to this, there's a list of mantras on this article that I'm reading on my own site as well. So, and you're welcome to come here and just steal them all. Like, they're yours. Do whatever you want with them. So I'll just read them quickly, and then we'll pick one and do that as our practice for this episode. But the first one says, I am healthy and well in every way. And if you did those intention meditations with me for a time, we haven't really done one in a long time, but we would pick some people who seemed to feel like they needed more love or healing or abundance in their life, and we would all meditate for them and imagine them receiving that. And 100% of the time it worked. So except for one time, which I won't mention. I'm a little bitter about it. But these, I am healthy and well in every way came up in those a lot, because it is a phrase I got from the Power of 8 woman, whose name I'm not going to remember at the moment. But she also does intention meditations. And she's actually who I learned them from years and years and years ago. And so Power of 8, if you look it up, you can find her name. She says healthy and well in every way. And I was like, yeah, that nails it on every level, right? So simple, so compact. So I really love this one. I'm healthy and well in every way. I love this one as well. I'm in perfect divine flow with the rhythm of the universe. Everything is in perfect order. It's a really good one for if you are just trying to release the chaos, the seeming chaos of the world, or the fear about it. I like this one too. I release fear. This is a positively stated affirmation. All of these should be positive. There's some rules to it, right? You don't want to say, I do not blank. You want to instead say what you do, right? So I release fear. You can replace fear with anything you want. I release evolution. Just kidding. Or anything else you're trying to let go of. I create a life in which I am perfectly supported and surrounded in abundance. I thrive. Everything around me thrives. The world is a thriving, eternal energy. I really like that one, especially when those fears of like environmental destruction come up, or like the end of the world or the end of humanity. That's a really good one for that fear. Everything I think, say, and do, and everyone I meet supports my thriving. That's the one I've shared with you guys pretty recently. You can also replace that with anything you want. You can say everything I think, say, and do, and everyone I meet supports my receiving a new car, right? Or whatever you want. Don't feel silly about it. You deserve everything. I love myself unconditionally. I'm loved unconditionally. The love from heaven flows easily to me and through me. I am worthy of all love and all abundance and wellness now and always. My body is my ally. My body loves me. Everything my body does is now and always will support my healing and vibrance. I trust my body. That's a little longer one. You may also see that in some of the mantras from religions. They tend to be like prayers, and they're a little bit longer. And finally, I support my body as an ally and nourish it in every way, energetically, emotionally, mentally, and physically. We were talking about our body all day, so it might be good to do a body one. But I also had a strong response energetically to that I'm worthy of all love and all abundance and wellness now and always. So maybe we're going to do that one. I'm going to just check in with the chat before we do these mantras. So while I'm doing that, get in a position where you can just sit comfortably and just upright and just say something out loud to whatever space you're in, and just get prepared to do that. Travis says, people bitch about not being able to see orbs or something else ethereal, but maybe the bugs we take for granted are orbs or ethereal beings. Yeah, I am with you. Very good point. Travis is always bringing the wisdom. T-Leaf says, and new birds also help us. Example, we were wondering how we were going to take care of the larvae in our barns, and here comes the red-bellied woodpecker. They literally come in and peck out the larvae, and we see them saving our wood barns. Oh my god, that's so rad. I've never thought about that. They serve a beautiful purpose. Good job. But like all things do, we just like forget that literally every single thing serves a purpose. There's another mantra for you. Every single thing serves a purpose. I'm in gratitude to every single thing because it all serves a purpose. All right, let's do this mantra. So, and this is what you'll see in the class too if you take it. Again, it's free if you'd like to. And the basics are you want to just breathe, bring your breath to this practice. Be aware of your breath. Breathe a little deeper. Don't push it. Just watch your breath becoming deeper. As you're speaking out loud, which is one of the ways that you do the mantra well, obviously. As you're speaking it out loud, you're creating it. The vibrations are moving out into the universe. And so you're going to do that. You're going to imagine it as much as possible. How would it look for this statement to be true? How would things shift or change in your life? What types of situations could you imagine when this statement is said out loud and is true? So you could bring your imagination power to it. You want to bring your emotion power to it, your heart power to it. You want to feel how good it feels that this statement is true. You want to suspend your disbelief. You want to get rid of anything that says this is not true and just go, well, it doesn't feel true to me right now for 100%, but it will someday, and therefore it is actually true, or it has been true in the past, and so I can accept that it is actually true, even though I'm not fully in connection with that right now. So I can still just keep saying it, right? So that's just true. Accept that truth. Feel the feeling of how good it feels that the statement is true. I'm definitely forgetting something. Well, when you take the course, you'll find out. So, so we're all going to say this together right now. And remember, you say it out loud. Remember also, you can go at any pace. I'm going to say it when I say it. You can say it when you say it. I'm just going to do it 5 times. What I really want you to do is feel it too. Oh, here's the one I missed. It's when you're saying it and feeling it and imagining it. Especially the last few times, I want you to really imagine that energy, the wavelength of the sound itself going into every single cell in your body. Your body is absorbing this information and energy, every single cell of it. And you're just going to see that however that looks to you. Maybe it's wavelengths coming out of your mouth and just, going through your whole being, or light coming out, or anything you want. It's up to you. But you're saying it into your body as well. You want to up your game a bit. This is a key. It's not even in the class. You can go say this into the mirror and look yourself in the eyes. You might cry. Drinking cucumber water. This is my new favorite thing. So here we go. Breathing. Closing your eyes if you can without needing to read this. I am worthy of all love and all abundance and wellness now and always. Feel how good that feels for that to be true. It feels really good. Imagine what it looks like for that to be true. I am worthy of all love and all abundance and wellness now and always. Feels good, looks good, saying it out loud. Now start to imagine it going into every cell of your body. I am worthy of all love and all abundance and wellness now and always. Every cell's receiving that energy. It's just vibrating around you. Even after you speak it, it continues to just vibrate in your field. Every cell's receiving it. I am worthy of all love and all abundance and wellness now and always. Yeah, that feels good. You could do this like 500 times. You could do it 20 times. You could do it 3 times a day. You do it once a day. And the reason why most people stop doing their mantras is they're like, I don't know, I just like didn't. Well, yes, because if you're not doing what we just did, where you're like focused on it, you're present with it, you're imagining it, you're feeling it, you're sending it into your body, then it can become just this thing. I do it all the time, but I try to get better and better all the time. I'm getting better and better all the time. Where I just repeat it, la 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 la, and then I'm like, okay, done with my mantras. Like, that's not the point of the mantra. That's not how you do a mantra well. So we try to stay present with our practices. That is what the practice is being present, actually. Any good practice comes down to that, is being present in the moment, right here, right now. This is the thing that I'm doing. I'm just noticing and observing what I'm doing and being. And the people are surprised. They're like, but why did I start bawling? You're like, because that was like the only time you were present with yourself for who knows how long. We just run around distracted. We have all this stuff to do. We have our phones in our hands. We have blah, all that stuff. So you finally stop and your body's like, oh, thank God. Ugh, take all this emotion out, please. Please, dear God. Right? Again, there's another aspect of our backup, fractalized, analogous structures and parallel systems, that your body will store the emotions. Your body will store the emotions in you all over the place. I know I shared this story before. It's worth sharing again, especially in case there's people who haven't heard it out there. But I went to my first naturopathic doctor ever. She asked me eventually if she could do vitamin B injections into my back. And I was like, sure. I mean, like, you can do whatever you want. I don't know anything about any of this stuff. So cool. And she started doing it. She was doing it on acupuncture points. And she was doing these vitamin B injections. And I just started loudly ugly crying. Like, embarrassingly, just like, whew, couldn't stop for like 10 minutes. Like, it was a long time. And she just kept like injecting stuff in my back. I was like, I'm so sorry. She's like, it's cool. Just keep going. You're doing great. I was like, finally like done bawling. It was like snot everywhere. And I'm like so embarrassed. I'm like, I don't know why that happened. She's like, it happens all the time. So my back was storing all this grief and trauma from my life. Clearly my back, So yeah, our body's doing that too. Our body's like, oh, okay, you can't emotionally handle this right now. Let us just pack it in somewhere. The emotional energy is stored there. People think this is like woo-woo and crazy. If it's so crazy, why is it so consistent? She's like, it literally happens all the time. Like, most people are carrying extra emotions there. That's why she does that treatment, is to release that. I had less back pain since then, permanently. One of the many things that like sent me on the road to less and less and less and less and less back pain was that. Thank God, right? But that's our bodies. Our bodies will just store it. I'll do readings with people. Sometimes some physical things come through, right? And I'll just tell, oh, you have this emotion stuck in this one spot. And they'll be like, oh my God, I do have issues in that spot. And I do have problems with that emotion. Because our bodies do that for us. Fractal, over and over again. Every single part is repeated. Every single part has each other's back. This is why it can work as a system. We could learn a lot from this, but at the very least, to just know this about ourselves, to honor that process in our body and ourselves, in our emotional bodies, our mental bodies, our soul, all of these working together, right? And this is another reason why, when I teach in Brighter You and other places, we're talking about like, okay, well, how are you taking care of your body? How are you taking care of your mind? How are you taking care of your emotions? Like, no, I want to do spiritual stuff. Like, that is spiritual stuff. That is the point, actually. All those bodies are one body. All your levels are one level. And they're all interacting with each other. So when your body is like muddied and gunked up and all these things are like held in there and stored in there and not functioning well, you're not going to have as clear of channels. It's just the truth. So of course you need to do that. Of course you need to heal your body. Of course you need to heal your mind. Of course you need to heal your emotional self. It's all fractal. It's all repeated all the time. That is the nature of this place that we are in. It is the nature of being hollow fractal beings. It's the nature of being cymatic expressions of source into this three-dimensional space. That is the game. That's what's happening here. Thank you so much for sharing today, you guys, with the tips. Angie and everybody, I'm just so grateful for your support. And always, to know you is nice. I hope that you want to come hang out afterwards. We're going to do the hangout. I'll post that in just a few minutes today. And I Hope you just use this information in whatever way serves you to heal whatever levels of yourself, to use reflexology, acupuncture, your ears, or just to know your body's doing a fucking amazing job. It was designed to kick ass, and it is kicking ass. Give it love. And use your mantras. Use your mantras to manifest change, healing, upgrades, whatever you want in your life. You have the power to do that. So go check out those courses too, and you're going to love them. All right. And so until you master the art of using all those analogous structures, parallel systems, and backup areas of your body, soul, heart, and mind, and really dive into how you've got your own back on every possible level and start to support your upliftment, healing, and opening in every way by addressing that exact truth about your holistic self, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first.
Motherfucker unknown. Yeah, come on. In the place with my fist up, meaning I resist the bullshit that they feed us and lead us. This is just a part of the process, man. Just watch this, cause this shit's about to get crazy like a mosh pit. We lost it, toss it, let's start it again. Cause now with technology, with smarter men and women, this is the beginning, not the end. If this is the message of hope that I send, look on your TV, it's a culture of death. They'll keep on lying to the very last breath. We keep on striving and spreading the truth. It's hard to survive in this world for the youth. The door is closed, the old world is dead. Let's have an age of understanding instead. I'll include you and you include me. Let's see what we can build with some positivity. Let's go. You're moving too slow. Let me see your hands if you know what I know. Come on.
Rap like mummy, ain't no dummy in my rhyming. Started flowing freestyle and now they rhyming loud silence. On with the violence, bodies piling with the gray bearded pirate. On your TV in 4K 3D virtual reality. Casualty of urban warfare. I know but I'm not scared, just prepared and aware. Shining my light through the tunnel of hope. Into the rope, but I'ma give it one more pull. Till the family is full. Take the bull by the horns and lead it to the slaughter. That would be harder and you would be softer. Sometimes I'm a monster, and you forever imposter, which is champagne and lobster. This royalty, the way it was supposed to be. Hopefully the new door opens and the old one closes, with way more focus and growth to mold us, and the truth that they should have told us.
To them screens, it's a plot to drop the IQ. Fighting amongst each other over rulers that don't like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood wands of holly. Suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed sloppily. The poppers see this mockery and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet. Everyone got a gift, everyone got a light. They want you to forget that ish, cause they can't dim the bright. The positive vibration takes you past the sign shackles, from the sewers and the alleys in the moving castles. Who these assholes really serving with an exposed Achilles surgeon around the corner lurking to prove ascension trumps perversion? Learn them to catch fish and unplug the signal. Show them the simpletons now build the fucking temples.